Several speakers have noted that meaning is the natural consequence and a necessary condition. Meaning is a consequence of helping others. That is its definition indeed. Our next speaker is a great and inspiring example of a meaningful life that is a consequence of helping others. We are honored to welcome to our Law Center's 2019 Commencement Speaker, the Honorable Fernando Camacho, Supreme Court Justice, Suffolk County 10th District, whose life journey has taken him from Castro's Cuba to a seat on the state Supreme Court bench. Now, a brief introduction to Judge Camacho. In his work as a prosecutor and on the bench, Judge Camacho has embodied the highest ideals of the profession of law. His commitment to justice for each individual and his special interest in juvenile justice are an inspiration to many. It's a privilege to honor him. Judge Camacho obtained his undergraduate degree from Columbia University, attended Fordham Law School, from which he graduated in 1985. He went directly to the Manhattan DA's office, where he spent several years in the trial division and the sex crimes unit. In 1989, Judge Camacho was promoted to senior trial counsel and was assigned to the homicide investigation unit, a joint state and federal task force that targeted some of the most violent crimes in New York City. It is then that Judge Camacho, together with others from the DA's office, went street by street, cleaning up violent crime, indicting those who sold drugs, those who committed crimes individually and as members of gangs. And in that capacity, Judge Camacho requested and obtained the longest sentence ever requested by the Manhattan DA's office, 213 years for a particularly heinous murder. In 1997, he was appointed to the bench and served 4 years in Kings County Criminal Court before transferring to Queens County in 2002. While in Queens County, he served as the deputy supervising judge, presiding over the domestic violence court, and created the first human trafficking court for victims of sex trafficking charged with prosecution. In 2008, he was appointed to the New York State Court of Claims and served as an acting Supreme Court justice in the integrated domestic violence part in Queens County Supreme Court. In May 2009, the New York State Chief Judge named Judge Camacho the administrative judge for criminal matters in Queens County. While serving as administrative judge, he created the Queens County Youth Diversion Court, a specialized court for adolescents charged with felony offenses, in many cases providing alternatives to incarceration for youth who committed felonies, but who, in the words of Judge Camacho, were kids who made a mistake. In January 2013, he was assigned to Suffolk County Supreme Court. For the past 6 years, Judge Camacho has worked to develop the Suffolk County Felony Youth Part, which provides alternatives to incarceration for young people charged with felonies by connecting them to community resources and to support. He has a long history of community involvement, most recently partnering with me and with Touro Law School on mock trial programs for schools in our neighborhood that enable young people to flourish and provide an alternative to drugs and gangs. Here he is, the prosecutor, the judge, someone who's tough, someone who's compassionate, truly unclassifiable, no ideology, no politics, just Fernando, the law, and justice under law for each individual. The Honorable Fernando Camacho.
Thank you, Dean Ballin. You're too kind. I'm honored and humbled by the opportunity to speak to the graduates of my favorite law school. Congratulations. You are the newest members of the noblest profession that anyone can aspire to. And you're also graduates of a noble institution that understands their mission to teach the law while instilling in their students, future lawyers, a sense of responsibility to serve others. The Touro Law family and I are kindred spirits. We share the same ideals. I have devoted my life to public service. I came to this country at the age of 9 without speaking a word of English. My dreams took me to law school and then to the Manhattan DA's office, where I prosecuted murderers, including Rafi Martinez, the leader of a vicious street gang that, among many, killed many people. Among them was a 67-year-old man named Jose Reyes, who was a super of a building that they sold drugs out of, and they executed him because he was informing the police on them. He was talking to the police. After a long trial, Martinez was convicted of many murders and sentenced to the longest sentence in New York State history. Since leaving the DA's office, I have pursued a somewhat different but not inconsistent mission. For the last 23 years, as a criminal court judge, in memory of a 13-year-old boy named Lamont Williams, who I'll tell you about in just a minute, I found my calling. I found my meaning, saving young people from being lost to the state prison system. As you sit here today, anxious and excited about your future, perhaps asking yourselves, what will I be able to accomplish? Will I be successful? I'm going to share with you certain principles which I believe will serve you well and form the bedrock of your legal career. Camacho's 5 rules for becoming a successful lawyer. And I'm qualified to give you these rules because I've had the opportunity and the privilege to work with some of the greatest lawyers and learn from some of the greatest lawyers of our time. Rule 1, always tell the truth. Some of you may be thinking, but Judge, don't we have a duty sometimes in order to advocate for our clients to distort the truth? Never. There is a difference between presenting facts in the light most favorable to your client and engaging in outright deception, telling outright lies. In this profession, one of your most valuable assets will be a reputation for honesty. Just like any other valuable possession, you must treasure it and guard it closely. If you're ever tempted to say, it's only a small white lie, nobody will ever know. Remember, our legal communities are a small world. Word gets around. If you get a reputation for being dishonest, you will never be successful. Many years ago, I was presiding over a high-profile case in the city when, on the eve of trial, a young attorney, a young prosecutor named Maureen McCormick came into the courtroom and moved to dismiss the case. She did not think her main witness was telling the truth. And what she said to me later was, Judge, I could never walk into a court of law and say something that I did not believe was true. During your career, you will encounter many difficult ethical dilemmas. When you do, you will always make the right decision if you follow a simple rule. A great lawyer never lies, deceives, misrepresents, not even once, not ever. Rule 2, don't be afraid to make a mistake. And when you do, admit it and own it. Let me break the bad news. You'll make countless mistakes in your career. If you're a young associate in a law firm and you miss a filing deadline, don't stick your head in the sand, ignore it, and hope that it will go away. My wife, a partner in a law firm, comes home griping all the time. These young associates never learn. They always try to cover up their mistakes. Why didn't they just walk into my office, come tell me about it, and we'll fix it? The law is not inflexible. It was written by people who understood that lawyers are human beings and make mistakes. Walk into the partner's office, admit it, and fix it. Many years ago, a colleague of mine in Manhattan DA's office, Jeff Schlanger, prosecuted a notorious hitman named Mickey Featherstone. He was given a promotion, and he was the office hero for several weeks. Sometime later, an informant came into his office and told him, look, Mickey killed a lot of people. He did not commit this particular murder. Think to yourselves, be honest. How many of you would have been tempted just to ignore that information and continue to bask in the glory? Jeff did not. He led an investigation which exonerated Featherstone. He then walked into the courtroom and moved to vacate the conviction. A great lawyer is never afraid to stand in the well of a courtroom or in a partner's office and say, I made a mistake and I'm here to correct it. Rule 3, practice humility. The diploma you receive today gives you power. Power can be intoxicating. If you're not careful, it can make you arrogant, condescending, and rude. It is a privilege to be a member of this profession. Don't abuse it by turning into the courthouse bully. Every time I encounter an arrogant lawyer, I think of a young and unassuming attorney who had a relatively short and undistinguished career in Manhattan DA's office, and I happened for a period of time to have an office next to his. I watched every day as he treated police officers, his colleagues, opposing counsel, judges, court personnel with the utmost courtesy and respect. His best friend in the office was Carol, a gregarious woman whose job was to empty our garbage pails. She would sit in his office every day for hours and chat, tell him about her grandkids, and he would sit there and patiently listen. Don't let the power that comes from being an attorney corrupt you. Wield it respectfully, fairly, equally, and with grace, like John Kennedy Jr. did. Rule 4, all great lawyers have a burning passion to provide a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. It is no accident that throughout our nation's history, lawyers have been on the front line of every important struggle for social justice. The training that we receive in law school allows us to identify righteous causes, and our law license gives us access to the justice system and empowers us to pursue those causes. Toro's motto, educating lawyers to build a better world, says it all. There is no better example of a lawyer who has that type of moral soundness than the man who wrote those words, a person sitting right here in this auditorium, Dean Harry Ballin. Dean Ballin has achieved tremendous personal success. He has used that personal success to pursue his passion to serve others. As you may know, sadly, Toro's neighbors in Brentwood have had their share of struggles over the last few years. It came to Dean Ballin's attention that unlike most other high schools in Long Island, Brentwood High School did not have a moot court team. It did not participate in the annual statewide moot court competition. Next thing you know, Dean Ballin, Dean Berman, Professor Roy, and I are sitting in this small, cramped classroom at Brentwood High School in these little students' desks, watching in awe as a group of enthusiastic and dynamic young people with huge smiles on their faces were practicing to become the school's first ever moot court team. This year, 12 Brentwood students, with the help of their coaches, Toro Law Professor Jorge Roig, and Toro students, Nicholas Maggio and Cindy Molina, participated in the super competitive tournament and made it all the way to the quarterfinals. They did better than many powerhouse schools that have been doing it for many years. This is just one example of what makes your law school extraordinary. Toro Law Center, more than any other institution I've ever been associated with, reaches out to the community and uses its talent and resources to improve the lives of their less fortunate neighbors. A great lawyer always seeks to provide a voice to the voiceless. And finally, Rule 5, be courageous. In the late 1980s, those of us who worked in law enforcement in New York City were scared. We were terrified. Our streets were drug supermarkets. Our children were dying in a hail of bullets. Our police officers were being executed. On 110th Street in Manhattan, in the case that my wife and I investigated and prosecuted, an innocent 13-year-old boy named Lamont Williams was shot in cold blood by gang members as he dribbled his basketball. And the motive? He was randomly picked out because they wanted to teach the block a lesson. They wanted to terrorize. That case changed my life. Everything I have done since in my career, including speaking to you today, I do in Lamont's memory. In a separate case in Queens, a 22-year-old police officer named Eddie Byrne and a parole officer named Kevin Rooney were ambushed and executed on the orders of a drug lord. Their killers were prosecuted by a young attorney named Gene Kelly. For years, I kept a copy of a column which appeared in the Daily News on the occasion of Kelly's death. Let me share it with you. When his moment of greatness came, the prosecutor rose on shaking legs in the well of the crowded courtroom. If the truth be known, the crime still had him scared. He coughed on his first sentence, caught himself by wiping the sweat off his forehead, and allowed the facts to chase away his nervousness. The city was desperate for some kind of statement on law, and yes, even order. They found Gene Kelly dead in bed last week. He was 43 years old. They say he died of a heart attack. As there was a day in this city's blood, when this city's blood was pumping hard, fast, and righteous through Gene Kelly's heart, I am betting the thing died of exhaustion. At the close of the great trial, in advance of the great verdict, Gene Kelly stood in the well of the court again to deliver his summation. In the next instant, Kelly's big voice was booming. He was talking for all of New York. I was fortunate to know Gene Kelly. And this column, I think, captures the essence of a great lawyer. Gene wasn't a hotshot trial attorney. He wasn't the sharp-dressed, silver-tongued, all-knowing, all-powerful, straight from Hollywood Central casting that some lawyers unfortunately aspire to be. Gene was clumsy, he was nervous, he was genuine, he was passionate, and he was courageous. He was a regular guy with extraordinary determination. Graduates, when you get scared during your career, when you get scared, like I have been many times, and you think you've taken on too much, that the moment is too big for you, and you're standing on shaking legs, don't be afraid. Wipe the sweat off your forehead, cough away your nervousness, let the righteousness of your cause steady your legs, and you let your big voice boom loudly and clearly for justice and for fairness. Be courageous, trust your cause, trust yourselves, embrace those qualities that make you who you are, and you will be powerful. Finally, there's one final lesson I want to pass on to you today. Great lawyers, great attorneys like Maureen McCormick, Jeff Schlanger, John Kennedy Jr., Harry Ballin, and Gene Kelly don't walk into the courtroom or into the law office or into the law school and check their humanity at the door. They go in with the entire package. Yes, they bring their showmanship and their legal skills, but they also bring their decency, their honesty, their integrity, their humility, their sense of humor, their common sense, their passion, and their commitment to justice. I trust and pray that you will do the same. Go out and build a better world.
Thank you, Judge Camacho. Thank you for reminding us that life is indeed a team sport. It's been an honor to be on the same team. Thank you, too, for your inspiring message of individual responsibility and individual justice. And thank you for reminding us that we must own our own mistakes as well as our good service. It is a privilege to honor Judge Camacho for his many years of distinguished public service, both the tough prosecutor and the compassionate judge. Fernando Camacho, I am honored now to present you to Provost Patricia Salkin as a candidate for the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Upon the recommendation of the Touro College Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center and as approved by the President and Board of Trustees of Touro College and University System, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of the University of the State of New York, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa with all the rights, privileges, obligations, and immunities appertaining thereto.